minute, so if you wouldn't mind all finding a seat, we have some housekeeping things to do to get the meeting started, and we'll get going.
The volume.
Did you hear me?
Can they hear him?
Did you?
Yeah.
The volume.
Hear me? All right. But not through the mic. How's this? A little better? All right. Thank you. So if everyone would find a seat, we're going to get started in a minute. We have a little housekeeping stuff to do to open our meeting, and then we'll get right into the strategic planning. All right. Okay, it's 7:05 p.m., and I call this meeting of the Denville Board of Education to order. This meeting of the Denville Township Board of Education is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and/or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the Township Clerk, and has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office and each of the school buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Cass?
Here.
Mrs. DeLuna? Here. Mrs. Lindsay?
Here.
Mr. Lure?
Present.
Mrs. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Capello?
Here. Okay, at this time we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone please stand. The flag is in the corner there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I promised we have to do some mandated housekeeping things. The first one is we're going to open up for public comments. This would normally be our point in the meeting when anyone from the public would come up and ask questions or make comments about anything germane to the district. So I will open up the public comment portion of our meeting at 7:06 p.m. And seeing no one approaching, we will also close the public portion session of the meeting at 7:06 p.m. Okay.
A reminder to the board members, we will insert Roman numeral 3A to do the ribbon cutting, since we have a quorum, and then we'll come back.
Okay, so thank you. I am leading off with the welcome message. So good evening. Our 5-year strategic planning process is actually a unique opportunity for you. It doesn't happen very often, but it's a really important process and a really important piece of what we do. So you here tonight are going to have the most direct input into what comes out of this process. So really, it's the most direct way you guys can have input into what happens in the district and the plans we make, other than coming to every board meeting on a Monday night, which I recommend everybody do if you can, or coming to each of our houses and telling us what you think, which I don't recommend anybody do. So, but again, I want to congratulate you on taking the opportunity to be here. It's really important that we have as much community involvement as possible, and it's great to see you all here. So, since some of you might be fuzzy about why we're here and what we're doing, maybe I'm going to take a few minutes and talk about what these strategic planning sessions are about. Before Steve Forte gets into the state of the district, and later on Charlene Peterson and the people from New Jersey school boards take you through the program, let me tell you a little bit about why we're doing this. So real simply, Denville, like every other school district pretty much everywhere, has limited resources to do the things that we want to do. We have things that we want to do for our students, for our community, and we have limited amount of money, time, and resources to make those things happen. So what we wrestle with pretty much every day as a board, and our administrators wrestle with, is how to do the most important things, how to prioritize things, and how to make sure we hopefully achieve the best possible outcomes and achievements for our students. So a lot of the issues we come up with are things that you probably will think about when you think about what it takes to run a school. What kind of curriculum we offer, how often do we update that curriculum, how many teachers do we need, what specific skills do they need to have, how do we organize our transportation program, what kinds of enrichment programs do we offer, our special education programs, how do we offer them, what do they look like, and how do we modify them over time as standards and needs change. So these are all things that we figure out how we're going to spend money on. We also think about things like our buildings. How are we going to keep them safe and make sure they're the best possible learning environment for our children? So that's something actually I want to talk about that's a little bit unique to Denville. You're going to hear more about the structure of our buildings, of our facilities, from Steve in the state of the district shortly. But, you know, and most of you know this, we have 2 elementary schools. Lakeview, which is a very large elementary school, has a capacity of about 800 students. Riverview has a capacity of between 300 and 400 students. Also, these were buildings that were built when basically you built schools with general purpose classrooms and you taught with a teacher at the front of the room. Those buildings and that configuration doesn't lend itself so well to modern education techniques. We have class size issues, we have issues about how we divide our classrooms up, and what ends up happening is our staff and our administration figure out creative ways to make that work, and a lot of times those things are not ideal. So again, you'll hear more about that later, but I wanted to talk just a little bit about that because it's a little bit unique to the structure we have here in Denville. So, what it comes down to is the job, oh, thank you, that's much better. So what it comes down to at the end of the day is our administrators, our staff come to us with their wants and needs and the things that they see that they want us to be doing in the school. The board takes all those recommendations and we evaluate them. We try to figure out which ones are the more important ones, which are the ones we can do within the limitations of budget and time and all of those things, and we come up with the best plan that we can. Now, at the end of the day, we're just 7 people. We're part-time, we're not paid, and we definitely don't have all the answers, and we definitely don't have all the ideas about how to make our schools better. So with that in mind, that's why you're here. We're here to try to get as much from you as possible about your different experiences with our schools, good and bad, your life experiences, your own points of view about education, and hopefully all of this will come together in making the best strategic plan that we can make for our district. The 5-year strategic plan goals we'll end up with, when we're all finished, they're going to be a roadmap for us. They're going to be a roadmap for this board and boards that follow. And when we look at things, look at projects, look at things like curriculum, what kinds of things we can and can't offer, we're going to go back to the strategic plan and say, is this important? Is this what the community is looking for in our schools? So it will be a really clear map for us and a check-in point that we can use to make sure that we're always on point. So finally, last thing is, as you break into groups later and you start discussing these issues, I would just ask you to be as open and creative with your discussions as possible. You're going to have, I think, great opportunities to meet your neighbors, hear their viewpoints. I think you're going to find the whole process really informative and enjoyable. So, and the last thing I was planning on saying was that we really would like your unvarnished and candid opinion, and please don't be shy about voicing those opinions. But as I look around the room, and I know a lot of you personally, I don't think that's going to be an issue tonight. So, again, be as open and as candid as you can with us. We want to hear everything, and we're really excited to hear what you all come up with, and we hope to see you at the next sessions as well. And thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Dino. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Right here we have our New Jersey School Board's representatives. They're going to help us tonight. We invited people from the community, from the town, parents, businesses, to this event, and we appreciate you coming here out and giving up your time to help us. We just approved this new motto, our new mission statement, and that new logo and motto is only about 2 years old. And we're proud of it, and it's something that we all can remember. It's an easy mission statement, and I think it sets the tone for what we're doing. By the way, we have our assistant superintendent, Dr. Cullis, is going to be on that TV screen. She's at the University of Kansas right now at a technology coaching. It's actually a instructional coaching workshop done through the University of Kansas. It's on the campus. She's right there now. She's going to do a few slides in this presentation, and she realizes the value and the importance of this. So even though she's in Kansas, we were able to bring her here. So there's Dr. Cullis right there. Hello, everyone. So here's this is called the State of the District. So basically what we're doing right now is telling you, where are we at right now? What do we have? What are we doing? And then it's up to you to find out some of our areas, our challenges and strengths. So our overview, the slides that we have, we'll start off with curriculum and instruction, special services, technology, extracurricular, the arts, facilities, finance, and transportation. And the first slide is for Dr. Cullis, and she's on.
Well, good evening, everyone. I would like to present a little bit of information, just some general background of the current program that we offer. That way we can look and see what do we want to do differently in our future, and if there's any area that we find that maybe we want to enhance. What you see on the screen now is just our general program that every student in an elementary school in Denville would receive. Most of them are traditional topics, so you recognize them. We do use the Teachers College version of reading and writing workshop for our language arts program. If you move farther down the list, you'll see, in addition to traditional science, we also have STEM, which combines lab experience for students where they work on projects with technology and engineering as well as science. And then the very last item, which we're very proud of, is that we've brought in a mastery enrichment program so that every student gets to experience enrichment projects beyond the curriculum. Teachers design topical programs and students take the courses. They get to choose the courses that they want to take, like robotics or drama or creative writing, for about 8 weeks. And then they get to select a new topic of study. So we do that throughout the year. Now our selective programs for the elementary are based on, some are based on self-selection and some are identified by need. So you can see the list that we do offer Spanish for 4th and 5th grade, and we do have band. So we have a lot of students in our band program, and I think our numbers will come up later, but we have over 200 students in our elementary band program. Our Expo program is our gifted and talented. And if you move farther down the list, some of our newer programs, we have the Student Success Academy that's been in place for, this is our 4th year, where we provide assistance after school at the building site. New this year, just starting in 2 weeks, we also have an off-site homework help for those families on the other side of 10 at the Peer Place Community Center. So we're offering homework help there as well. Each school has a culture and climate committee that students can serve on to work at the culture of the school, and then a science club. A traditional program for our middle school students, they take everything on this list in their 3 years at Valleyview. Some that you may not realize are the cycles if you do not have a student or have not had a student at Valleyview yet. Beyond the traditional subjects, the students take a set of cycle courses of STEM and art of writing, art, music, computers, and so forth as you look down that list. The middle school selective programs, as the elementary schools do, some of these are self-selected. They can join just by signing up. Some are selected by certain criteria. So we offer self-select band and choir, and then we have our gifted and talented program. And as you move down the list, similar to what the elementary offers as well. We do have many clubs and extracurricular activities that we are going to list a little later in the slideshow. At the middle school level, we offer many high school level courses. So students can take courses to get the prerequisite high school credit. So if they take these courses and pass at the middle school level, they have to take the same finals and the same state standardized test that the high school students would do. Then they can skip that course in the high school and move directly to the upper level courses. So you can see the listing that we have here. All of these have come into place in the last few years. We have offered algebra for the longest of those lists, but like our geometry and biology are new courses. Again, some of these courses are self-selection, and some students need to meet a criteria to move into, say, the geometry class. The benefit of taking some of these classes is that our students that are going to, like the Science Math Magnet, maybe IB, and some of those advanced programs at our high school, instead of doubling up in their freshman year, taking Algebra 1 and Geometry at the same time, they get those prerequisites met at the middle school level, and then we can move on. But these all are high school level classes and have to meet that honor criteria. Some of our standardized test data, just to give you a picture of where we're at academically. There's a lot of data on these slides, but I'd like you to look at the far column to your right where it says level 4. Any student that is either a level 4 or 5 is considered proficient in that area. And the lighter color is the state percentage of proficiency and compared to the Denville proficiency. So this is our 3 through 5 scores for language arts. So right now you can see the comparison that we start at 67, but as we percent proficient, and as we move through the grades, our 5th grade ends elementary at 83% proficient. At the middle school level, we move up to 87% proficient as compared to the state level of the same grade at 56. So all of our grade levels of ELA are significantly above the state standard. And now we will be comparing to our local districts as well once we start to get that data. For math, we see lower percentages, which I will talk about with our professional development that we put in place this year. But our math moves from 69 in 3rd grade to 59 in 5th grade last year. And then at the middle school level, we have 6th grade and 7th grade on this slide. I wanted to point out, although 68% proficient is we chose to make a goal this year of improving on, it is significantly above our state peers. And at our 8th and our high school courses, what I'd like to point out here is if you notice that our algebra, which the students who take Algebra 1 are being compared with all students who take algebra in high school. So our 7th and 8th graders that take it at Valleyview, 99% of them are proficient as compared to a state of only 40, at the state level only 41% are proficient in Algebra 1. And in our geometry, those students that take it with us at the Valleyview at the middle school level, 100% were proficient. And majority of them were advanced proficient at the highest level that they could receive as compared to 27% at the state level. So those are some numbers some areas we've made goals to improve on, but also some successes that we are very happy about. One of the highest areas that we feel strongly is in staff development, and we have put a lot of effort, especially in the last 5 years, on staff development. But even before that, I think our board has really put an emphasis on financing staff development for our teachers. And this is what we offer. The Summer Literacy Institute is an opportunity for teachers to come in the summer and get full-day PD on their own time in that time. After school, we offer a staff development academy. So again, staff and teachers can volunteer to come to content level courses, instructional techniques courses, and also wellness courses. We started a wellness program in our district last year, and we offer things like how to balance school and work, but we also offer yoga, and starting up at the end of January, we'll have yoga in all 3 buildings after school. So teachers can elect to take that programming. Part of that program is also then to turnkey and learn how can you use some of those strategies in your classrooms. We do work closely with Columbia University. We've had a significant number of our staff go for week-long institutes at Columbia University to really hone in on that Readers and Writers workshop philosophy. We do hire consultants. Probably 2 of our really unique, powerful things that we offer that most districts do not. One is the Denville Leadership Academy, where our staff can sign up to shadow and work with one of the administrators that they may be interested in and really get experience of what different types of administration positions are all about. And last, the literacy and math coaches. I'm here at this week-long conference, the university, to really work on our coaching strategies. So we in district have a full-time literacy coach and a math coach who work at training teachers on not only the content, the curriculum, and instructional strategies to really help our students improve. And there is significant research coming out of how powerful, that maybe this is the most powerful thing, to really have one teacher working with a coach to improve their techniques. So here with me I have Jen Gaforte, who is our math coach, and she's spending the week here as well, learning these techniques. It is starting to become very popular. I have 100 different coaches around the country here, and 3 different countries are represented. But I'm finding that more schools have been contacting Denville, asking us coaches and how we use them and the power of coaching. So I'm proud that our district has been in the forefront of this initiative. So thank you. Special services.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that from all the way in Kansas. So we have our special services highlights. We have our preschool programs, in-class support. Community-based instruction is where the students go out into the community and actually interact with the community on life skills. We have our integrated related services, OT, PT, speech. We have behaviorists and peer mentors. Special education programs and services. We have a preschool program. We have 4 classes. One of them is integrated with regular ed students. The rest have special education students only. Resource center placement, self-contained. We have self-contained program. Our continuum is from pre-K. Right now, one of them goes from pre-K to 8. The other one goes from pre-K to about 5. And that may be an area we need to investigate. Related services, peer mentoring, adaptive PE, and middle school flex after-school homework help. We have our Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, which is short CPAC. We have our Fairleigh Dickinson University Teacher Development Program for Orton Gillingham, and we have our PG Chambers School that does our staff development for other special services needs. Technology network. Remember, this is a state of the district right now. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that I want to make sure everybody knows what we have when you break into the groups. So our network right now, over the last few years, we've been in the process of replacing the backbone. We're still doing that. We do have full Wi-Fi coverage in Valleyview, partial Wi-Fi coverage in Riverview and Lakeview. It's fairly good, but it's not perfect. Valleyview currently has a 1-to-1 Chromebook, and there's an expansion coming. That would mean that the current 6th grade has Chromebooks. Next year's 6th grade would get Chromebooks. And then the next year, the last 6th grade would get Chromebooks, so that everyone in the middle school would have a Chromebook. We have 542 Chromebooks district-wide and 1,000 plus other devices, desktops, laptops, iPads district-wide. We have partial security camera coverage in the district. It's not everywhere, and it is at all 4 sites. Our 4th site is the bus garage. We have leased fiber for intra-district networking, and we have a 1 gigabyte internet connection that comes from this building. We have our technology staff consists of a manager, 2 full-time technicians, a part-time assistant, and a network support. Our network and support and monitoring is all outsourced. We support all the district software, provide professional development. As a matter of fact, we have a Google Apps training tomorrow for the secretaries done by our technology department. We work with our special services department and assistive technology, support all the devices, manage the website, social media, and our new district app. By the way, I have the cards. No one's going to walk out of here not knowing we have a new district app. And those of you that are parents, if you want to find out 1 hour before everybody else does, when there's a school delay or closure, get the app. It's free. I was going to do hey, get your app for Christmas. Buy it for somebody, but it's free. It doesn't work. So technology. Sorry, we did that. Extracurricular. I'm very proud to say that we're a middle school that has 10 interscholastic sports. There's so many middle schools, and friends of mine, when I talk to them, wow, you guys have sports in the middle school? I wish we had that. So it's different than having clubs and dads coaching the kids. Kids go on buses. They have teachers who are coaches in the afternoon, take their kids to other middle schools and compete in 10 different sports. We have 19 clubs and intramurals with over 200 students participating. Again, there's 175 students in the interscholastic sports. Riverview and Lakeview has 3 clubs. There's over 250 students participating. We also offer an enrichment program at the 2 elementary schools. It's a paid program, but we do have over 1,000 registrations each year between the schools. We also, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew, we have aftercare at Riverview and Lakeview, and we can arrange for Valleyview for 6th graders if anybody wanted that. The visual and performing arts, we have our spring musical up in the middle school with 75 students participating each year. We have our chorus, 70 students participating, band, over 60. We have our spring art exhibit. At Riverview and Lakeview, we have a 4th and 5th grade band. Over 225 students are participating. We have a related arts show and an art show. One of the schools does related arts, the other one just does arts, and a talent show. Some of our facilities accomplishments since 2004. Since 2014. We completed a roofing project at Riverview the year before I got here. The entire roof was replaced, so that roof is good for 20 plus years. There's new sections in Lakeview and Valleyview done last year. We're down to our last 15,000 square feet of roofing in the district that is at the point where it needs to be replaced. Security improvements, repairs to the bus garage. We have, we sold 501 Opanaki. That was a building on the other side of town that used to hold the board office. We have a solution now for the Board of Education central office, which will be going to Town Hall. Hopefully, sometimes between July and September, barring any construction delays or problems that can come up. We've done site work at all the schools. We've done bathroom replacements at all the schools. We've done some environmental remediation. We had to remediate oil at 501 Opanaki and an oil spill here. We did that last summer. We've done asbestos remediation at all schools. We're in the middle of what's called an ESIP program. You can see these hairdryer looking things up in the ceiling. That was part of the ESIP. Every light in the district has been replaced. These things are meant to blow the hot air down. Today I had asked them to turn it off because I knew it was going to be too hot. So we replaced every single light bulb in the entire district with LED. And we've done these things are called destratification fans. We've done new HVAC, new controls, and we also did some building envelope improvements like insulation. We've done waterproofing, lead testing, and remediation. Some of our challenges in facilities. We do have the use of some substandard instructional space like trailers. We do have trailers at all 3 schools. Currently at Valleyview, they're not used for children. At Riverview and Lakeview, they are used for children. They've been in use since 2006. We have some dual-use space, which means using a room for a different purpose, like using a closet for a classroom or using a library for a classroom with a 3/4 wall. We do have that around the district. We do have 4 pre-K and kindergarten classrooms in our district that don't have bathrooms. We need to get a waiver each year. And one of the causes of this, and this is just to point it out, it was the right decision to make, but we did have to pick up additional 4 rooms when we had the full day kindergarten, on top of the fact that we had to expand the pre-K program. So here's our demographic data. We conducted a demographic study in December of 2015. Oh, by the way, all of this will be online tomorrow. On the bottom, if you click on that, if you want to see the entire study, there's a link there. It says click link to full report. So basically, the demographic study shows that we won't have a significant reduction in students. There will be a small reduction, but not significant enough to clear up some rooms. Meaning, right now, if we have a class with 24 students in each, maybe it'll go to 22 students. But it won't be enough to actually reduce a section of the grade. Finance. So we don't make anything or sell anything. We're a people business. So the majority of our budget goes towards salaries and benefits. Then you have the rest goes towards, equipment, insurance, things like that. And we're a suburban district in a fairly affluent town. So as you see, 92% of the money that we have in our budget comes directly from the local taxpayers. Then we have a small percentage, 6.4% from state and federal money, and then we bring in about 1.5% in other revenue. This is something I started when I got here. It's called I call it our comparison group. It's every school district that fits the criteria listed. They have to be from Somerset to Bergen counties, meaning it has to be central to North Jersey. They have to be between 1,000 to 3,000 students. One of the districts, Florham Park, dropped 2 students, 998, but I kept them in there anyway. And they have to have a DFG of I, which is called the district factor group. That is a measure of your demographics, your wealth and education in the town. So, and also they have to be K-8 because it is difficult to compare a K-8 to a K-12 or a 9-12 district. So as you see, we have different criteria there. Again, this will be posted online if you'd like to take a closer look. And I do have the sources on the bottom, the tax data and the financial data. Basically, if you look at some of them, like our total cost per pupil, maintenance per pupil, extra curriculum per pupil, and then also we have some other things, average property tax, average property value, and the bottom is our rank in that category from 1 to 15. So we are number 12 in total cost per pupil, how much we spend per pupil in that group of 15 schools. Transportation. We have an in-house transportation department. We have 30-plus vehicles. All students are offered free bus transportation in the district. We did start to install some cameras because we have a problem with motorists passing stop school buses. So we have 5 buses with cameras. The motorists do not know which 5 they are. And we have been writing a lot of tickets. We've had weeks with 30 people. So we're really trying hard to stop that. We have professional development and safety training for our drivers. And there's the last thing was our next meetings schedule, and I know that Charlene is going to touch on that a little bit. We have our 2 school boards reps, Charlene and Kathy. They're going to speak to you a little bit about this process. It's an interesting process. I've been through it a few times, and you can get a lot out of it. It's good for you. It's very good for us. We don't get this kind of interaction with the public. We're lucky if we have one person here. So having a few people here, a bunch of people, is great. And we appreciate your help. There's 2 more meetings. These 2 are going to help you through the rest of it, and we're going to break out into some small groups. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Like I said, we are from New Jersey School Boards. My name is Charlene Peterson, and this is...
I'm Kathy Hellowa.
And our role here tonight is really just to be facilitators. You know, the important part of tonight is the fact that all of you are here. And I can't say how much we appreciate the turnout. It's not that often that we get to see such a large group. So it really says a lot about your community and how much you care about the education of your students. And so really the goal tonight is to hear what you have to say. You know, as we talk about a strategic plan, it's something that the board could have done by themselves. It's something the administration could have done by themselves. But really, what's important is, what do you think? What do all of the stakeholders think? So that when we do have a plan that's put together, it's your plan. And its help gives the board some idea or a roadmap, like Dino said earlier, of what it is that's important to the community. So we're just going to take you through the process tonight of how you can help and what your input would be. We always start out making sure when we talk about strategic planning, it means a lot of different things. So we want to make sure then that we have a common definition so that we are all thinking the same thing of why we're here, what our job is tonight. So the important part of what our job is tonight is that we want to create an organizational vision. But the important part of the vision is that it's going to direct, motivate, and inspire all members of the community to work together. So what is that common thought? What is that common vision that all of you see to help advance the achievement of your students? How can we work together to develop that vision? Dino touched on this a little bit. Why are we doing this? Why is it so important for districts to embark on strategic planning? And really, as he mentioned, they have to do a lot more with less, and it's more important than ever that you do have the voice of your community and make sure that the work that you're doing reflects what your community wants. So here it's proactive, it's flexible, it provides a forum for community participation. You know, when you think about it, it's not that often that you get to help make a difference in the outcome of the school. The board is essentially kind of handing the keys over to you and telling you, give us a direction for the next 5 years. So it's really a way to provide some important feedback and input to the district. And then most importantly, we now have an ongoing process. This plan will give us a 5-year framework. We'll look at it all the time, but we will, assess where we are, and then we'll build on it from there. Strategic planning is really a process. So tonight we're going to kind of go through the steps of the pyramid. So it starts with the commitment of the board to undergo this process, the commitment of all of you to be here tonight. And it's just important as your community to be committed to wanting to advance the achievement of your district students. So tonight, it's basically 3 parts as you go through strategic planning of identifying where are we now, then where do we want to be 5 years from now, and then developing a roadmap of how we're going to get from where we are now to where we want to be 5 years from now. So tonight is really the first part of that roadmap of identifying where we are now. So you received some information from the superintendent and gave you kind of a good foundation. So the intent of that was just that. So that is when you do break in your small groups, you kind of have a basis with which to jumpstart your conversations. But most importantly then, we're going to rely on you to finish that puzzle. What do you consider to be the strengths and the challenges of the district? So that by the time we leave here tonight, then we really do have a clear understanding of where we are now. Already saw your district's mission statement, and it's important that we recognize that the mission statement is what our work is based on. That as we set goals, as we have conversations tonight, all of that should be to help support the district's mission statement. Is the work that we're talking about in alignment with the mission statement? And you'll see on the back of all of your agendas, and if you come to all 3 meetings, it will be on all 3 agendas, that your mission statement will be on the back. So as you're in your groups and doing your work, you always have that in front of you. Okay, so what is your job for tonight? Most of you should have noticed that you have colored dots on your name tags. So that is how we are going to break you into groups. It's important that we wanted the grouping to be random, because one of the things we find in doing strategic planning is that while the plan that we get is great, one of the most important parts of this process is allowing people to be in groups and have conversations and just really sit down and talk about your district schools, talk about the students, talk about the opportunities they have and what you want for them. So that's really what your job is tonight. So we're going to break into groups based on the number of people that are here. I think we have 8 different groupings, so you'll probably have about 7 people in each group. And when you get in your groups, what I'd like you to do is just take a couple minutes to introduce yourselves. And then kind of get into what your work is for tonight. So your work is as a group to sit down and talk about what you think the strengths of the district are and what you think the challenges or opportunities are for the district. And then come up with a top 10 list of each one of those based on your conversation. Sometimes you may find yourself wanting to wander off into different topics, or people wanting to bring up individual concerns, and really kind of try and stay focused on what your job is for tonight, because we really don't have a lot of time, and it's really important. You're doing important work, so make sure you stay focused on what the work of your group is. So what we ask when you get in your groups and you sit and have your conversations, at one point there are big yellow sticky pads, sticky sheets in each room with a marker. So we ask that you assign someone in your group who has really nice handwriting to be the person then to record your group's strengths and challenges. And then once we're done, we're all going to come back in here into this room, and then each group is going to take a few minutes and report out on what their group's findings were. So again, somebody in your group needs to get designated for that lucky purpose too. So before we send you on your way, does anyone have any questions about what you need to do? Okay, so Kathy and I will be coming around, so once you get into your groups, we'll be coming around to kind of get you started, see if you have any questions, and then we'll be the timekeepers to keep coming back in and try and keep you on task. While that says 40 minutes, it's probably going to be more like 30 or 35 minutes that you'll actually be in your groups, so it's important you get started and get those conversations started.
Did you say we're going to another room?
Yes, I was just going to explain that now. Yeah, there are 8 classrooms that are set up and designated for your use, and I have 2 kind of sheets out in the hallway. One of them, as soon as you walk out the door here, it'll say, okay, if you have this color dot on your name tag, go to this room. And then as you get further down the hall, that sheet is repeated again, and then outside of each door is a little sign that says, okay, blue dot people, go in here. So hopefully, and we'll be coming around too to see if you have any difficulties. So for now, I'd like you to either grab some coffee, grab some cookies, grab whatever you want to do, and kind of go out the door, look for the sign, look to see which room you need, and make your way off to your rooms. So thank you.
Mariana, what are you speaking of now?
We're just in the introductory phases. We're going to go around and we're going to introduce ourselves to each other before we start diving into strengths and challenges.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and I have 3 girls. One's going to be kindergarten next year, 2.5-year-old. 2 months. So I just thought I would come since the next 5 years, go from one kindergarten to the next kindergarten.
I'm Gretchen Brown-Scheidel. I'm a mom of 2 boys, Valleyview, 2nd grade, and kindergarten.
I'm Lisa Yule in transportation. I'm Nicole Handler. I have 3 kids, one in Valleyview, one in Riverview, and one in Lakeview. The youngest is 4.
Severia Campanile, I have a boy in 3rd grade.
Back to the camera. I do have a challenge that didn't come up there, and as I said, I see I have a completely different perspective on everything now that I'm a council person. We do have affordable housing issues facing every town in New Jersey, and Denville's going to be caught up in it. The projected numbers that came out from the state, and we're fighting it in court, they want Denville to have 1,000 new affordable housing units. That sounds bad, but what's even worse is for every 1 affordable housing unit, they will build 5 more housing units to help the builders get their money out of what they're building. That means 6,000 housing units at the Denville.
Where?
That's our big question too. The other problem is, you put 6,000, we right now only have 6,500 housing units in Denville. That's houses, apartments, and everything else. So they're talking about doubling the size of Denville. You do that, it's going to affect everything, from the schools, class sizes, and all that, to our police, to our fire, to everything. We're fighting it because Denville has kept up getting new affordable housing, and the number we have put in is much, I mean, like in the 200s. But it's in court because the whole COA thing has been canceled by the courts and by Christie. They've been totally out, so it's all in the court system now. And it all depends really on which judge we get when this whole thing is over. We've partnered with 200 other towns to try to fight the numbers. But it is a big challenge. And it's got to be something in the plans. How are we going to accept these kids? Where are we going to put them?
What is the timeline for that? Because I think there was one slide
Up
where
to
the
two-
actual student.
Up to 2015. This is the next group that takes it up to, 2025. Okay. But still, that's a lot of kids.
For me, there's basically 2 things, right? The state,
So how do we, okay, and the other piece of it is I'm gonna record it up here, but do we wanna brainstorm a little and then?
Yeah, I
we'll
think,
do it?
I think that's
And then
right.
I'll write, once we agree, I'll.
Okay. Yeah, for me, you
Okay.
know, my daughter's here, and she plays softball, and my son plays baseball. The fields are horrible. So that's one area of improvement, I think.
Grace, write that down.
Yeah.
Because I agree.
I'm writing it here now, and then I'll.
Other than that, there are other approaches in terms of the education of the children that would, I think, I mean, although we offer an incredible amount of services and activities and also a support, which is beyond tremendous, I think. There are, I guess, different styles that could be sort of introduced, right? And as an example, and I forget which Scandinavian country has just done this, but they got rid of all sort of classical teachings. And their approach is they take an event, they create one or take one from a historical perspective, and then go from top to bottom and explore. And they touch on, for instance, the Apollo missions, right? So what's the context of the entire Apollo mission from a math perspective, right? Why is math important for that? You know, what is the social aspect? What in history, and then materials and so social studies, science, math, and it taught per event. It wasn't just up there teaching formulas. So the children have to go and figure it out with guidance support and say, this is why this is important. And you can, from my understanding, is that you can then see where some of the strengths and weaknesses are of the participants in this particular study. They're classrooms, but they're basically studies, and it's collaborative. It's not just one-on-one. It's not just somebody speaking and somebody listening. It's more everybody's working together, and they're just sort of guided in why do we think that.
Our children, and so I do professional development series for schools.
My name is Mike Picatoli. I am the Riverview Vice Principal, so I can answer Riverview questions. I started my second year doing that. I was 3 years as a Vice Principal in Hillsborough, and my son's in second grade, and I'm the president of my son's school board. So, and I like technology, and so any questions you have about Riverview, I'm here to answer.
Jen Summer. I teach over at Lakeview School. I'm a first grade teacher there. I've worked in the district for 12 years, and we just moved to Denville. We became residents about 1.5 years ago. So I have a first grader in the same school, and I have a 3-year-old who's just started in the preschool disabled classroom, and then I also have a younger one than that too.
Are you on the field?
I am.
I live across the street from you. Blue house.
Yeah. See, it's a small small town, right? So I love the school so much that I moved here for my kids. So I feel like that.
Kids who have special needs, it basically reads like a PhD thing. I'm not talking from personal experience or anything I do here. But when you come down to it, you find that the program itself, once you get into the middle school, is so lacking and pathetic that I pulled my kid out of it after fighting to get him into it. Because they play with Fruit Loops. How is this benefiting my child? He's making art products out of, he's allergic to Fruit Loops. I mean, this was one of the problems. I pulled my kid back out. I fought to get him in because he was an outlier because he is twice exceptional. And then I pulled him back out.
Well, they have
immediately.
recently, I know, changed it where they basically are now stripping the kids. So they're not even doing art and music. They're literally doing STEM. And then they're doing more STEM in the expo.
They're not doing STEM and expo at all.
Oh.
So that was where my kids.
But my concern is the
summarizes that that's
students-
top, say 15.
The students that
10%
don't get into that
Expo or not.
program.
There isn't
but
much
are
them to-
There isn't
above
much.
average.
It
are-
depends.
Are not
Once-
challenged, and I know
Once
a
you
lot
get
of
into the middle
students
school,
extremely
there
low.
are, there's advanced math. Once you hit 8th
But
grade,
at the
there's
younger
advanced
levels,
science.
there's nothing.
And there's, I think
middle
there's a
school, is
PLA.
there tracking? Like, do you have a standard, quote,
They
honors?
do, there's an advanced class, which would, I guess, constitute as your honors, and then there's just, everything else is,
Is together.
yeah, and
So you're either honors or you're not.
Yes, but the problem, I would say the problem is with, you have kids that are in honors, but in certain subject areas, not all. So there's like, the other classes aren't tracked, so they might end up in a class that's all honors, great, you know, and then they might be in a class that has in-class support for something else, even though they didn't.
If you go to professional development, it's not always to meet with the other teams, it's usually to work on something specific. So for example, all of third grade might go to the same professional development, but it might be on math,
Right.
you
But
know,
then you-
math modeling.
Right.
We don't, it's not for us to meet to discuss, hey, what are, you know, we try to do that. Like the beginning of the year, I knew we met with Riverview to map out our social studies, and we do follow the same scope and sequence sort of. So, you know what I mean? Like we do follow the same chapters and when to do them,
Does
but
that
we
make
don't
sense
all
to
give
you?
the
Scope
same
and
exact.
sequence?
But we don't all give the same exact projects or the same exact.
And you shouldn't, because you have different kids.
Yeah.
Well, that's
You're
what I was gonna
different
say,
people.
yeah, I mean, you want teachers to have flexibility though too, I mean, I remember.
I just want, when like, they go to middle school, that they all kind of were exposed to the same stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And that's where the curriculum comes in. Exactly.
Yeah.
If they're
Yeah.
following the curriculum, that should be taken care of when they get to the middle school.
Yeah, there's almost.
Anything else you want to add to either?
Do they talk about current events, like is there sort of a, I don't know.
I do it, it's
Part
called,
of current-
I call it in the news.
Down, like when your kids are in bed.
It's
Basically, what's my children's
Yeah.
educational
So we're talking
roadmap?
about.
Exactly. If they're here, where do they go and where do they end, right?
Right.
So
Through
they're
high
communicating what the
What are the
roadmaps, what the
options?
different, you know, roads are that my kid can do.
Right.
I didn't understand that from an early onset.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a great term. And just like your example there, if she took the algebra, then her roadmap would have been a lot easier.
They do have that, by the way, when
And
you,
if
when
she
you
knew that that's what the goal was, she might take that branch.
Exactly.
They actually, I think they give that to eighth graders, I do.
Maybe
There's
a better
little arrows with
introduction.
boxes, and when you're in eighth grade and you're picking the classes for the next year, but like no one would know that in sixth grade.
Yeah, maybe a
Unless
better
you went through it.
introduction,
Yeah.
an introduction to that.
Earlier
Right.
Yeah.
Introduce the roadmap earlier.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I think that the Expo program, which I don't know that much about it, but I've seen that program exist in schools for a very, very long time. But I recently was at a Gifted and Talented seminar. And in many school districts, Gifted and Talented is becoming its own thing now, where if you have a special ed child, they get an individualized education plan.
Right.
They are now doing that for Gifted and Talented kids as well. So
Are they saying
there's,
504s? Is that
No.
what they?
no. It's,
No,
it's,
IEP is different.
it's.
No, I
don't have
know,
a
but
504.
what would be for the distant talented?
Well, because it's just what he's saying. When you look at a population of students, 20 kids in a classroom, you're going to have 5 kids that struggle to learn, just average. You're going to have 10 kids that are general ed, and you may have 5 that are very high. And quite frankly, with all of the demands, you've got to get these 5 lows on a place where they can function.
Right.
And then you hope to take the 10 general ed and get them to a bit better level. But your 5 highs is very difficult to truly challenge those kids in a general ed classroom. And the seminar that I went to said that no truly gifted and talented child should be in a general education classroom. Now, I don't know how many, there are districts out there that are doing it. I don't know if it's right for our district, but I'm just saying, what you are saying is about, you're talking about a gifted and talented population. And what attention is being paid to those kids, how are they really being reached? And if they were really being reached in elementary school in a way that you felt was really challenging them, you would have a better idea of, we're doing this now because we want to get them here by the time 5th grade comes. And then when they get to 5th grade, they're going to move into here, they're already going to be in algebra. You know, that's your roadmap, but it really would start in the younger grades. But I don't know what that takes here, but.
At the risk, now, you hit something that's very personal to me, right? Because unfortunately, while I was on the board, I was part of the board that passed an alternative way into getting into these some of these higher level programs that unfortunately not every kid deserves to be in. When a parent comes in and complains that my kid missed it by 2 points, that's a standard deviation. That's a difference of thousands of kids. But yet we created an alternate route for them. Now you have classes that are supposed to be challenging, right? That have 30 kids in them, right? And some kids are doing poorly and are getting ready to pounce on the poor teacher, and other kids that are excelling. And I bet you, if you really looked at the population of the two, those that are excelling and those that are starting to fall behind, early on in their academic career here, you'll find that those were the ones that pushed to get their kid into this program.
Are you talking about advanced classes or expo?
Both. Both, because
Because the expo, there's hardly any
there's an
advanced
alternate
classes.
route into both.
Yeah,
So
so this is
expo
like
was
5
opened up,
kids.
it went from
So
about 5 or 6
education
kids
roadmap
to
check.
20 something.
There's some challenging.
So-
Are there others like that have
And the other thing
other?
with the expo, one more thing, I'm sorry, is the fact that
Yeah.
to take expo in the middle
We're just
school,
trying to
you
get
have
it.
to give up certain cycle classes.
Right.
You can't take, your consumer or home ec, whatever they call it nowadays.
Right.
but
And
what we used
art,
to call
you're
home
supposed
ec.
to get
And
some of
art.
that in part of the.
For when they pass, they can just advance in. But I think they're looking to actually make those high school credits. So I don't know if that's the case, but what's happened here as a result is there's a lot of pressure for kids to get into those advanced classes, even though they may not be ready. And the flip side of that is it's also impacted our teams and the kids' regular schedules. So now we don't have true teams at Valleyview because we have these advanced classes that are pulling kids.
So would you say competition is a challenge between students or staff and students?
I think it's pressure. There's a lot of pressure from students and parents to get those kids into those advanced classes, feeling as if they don't get in, that they're somehow going to be at a disadvantage in high school. When realistically, I don't know. I went into regular high school classes all the time, and I did.
So pressure for peer pressure for making the.
No,
Is it
it's
a
parental
expectation?
I think it's more parents and kids feeling like they have to, get ahead. That pressure that you said, like making sure you're getting it all in.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I just insert really fast. I have a son who was in that 99 percentile, and the pressure, he felt all the time, even from teachers saying, well, why can't you be like him? And it was too much. He's the one of my kids that refused to go to college. Just refused. He has anxiety issues because of the expectations that, but what if I make a mistake? But what if I fail? But what if so I'm not even going to try. I think we need that balance she's talking about, and that often comes through arts, through music, through that. Those kids sometimes flourish, and then they're excited to learn.
I didn't know the idea that middle school is exposure and then they can choose kind of like through high school, but I don't know, maybe there's a way to give them more of an in-depth something of what they love.
Yes.
At least by 7th and 8th grade, I would say.
So it's hard to put that in a bullet point.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I'm thinking
I'm not kidding, I've sat on every scheduling committee, I think we've done it 3 times, and every time we've determined that we can't change it.
Well, I'm actually listening and processing what it is that my daughter dealt with when she was going through that as well, like you drew your son into it. Possibly evaluate the cycle schedule to consider something. We're trying to accomplish.
Because those are
one thing.
block
Yeah.
periods,
Yeah.
those are teachers and staffs,
Yeah, I would like to.
professional development, except for tech. We do community backing. So when we say community.
Involvement.
How do you feel about safety?
So didn't they just make all these changes to the schools here for?
Well, the
security
doors, I know,
wise?
they
Yeah.
put in new doors.
Security, safety.
I would say they're very much on top of security.
And you don't want your children to feel like they're in a prison.
You might add that, I like that security is, you feel strong, that security's good.
Top of my head, because I was
That's
at
a good
school
point.
yesterday and sat through my first.
So I think they should,
And you have to bring your ID in.
I was on
State requires all that.
but to them, it's like, the kids are like, oh, yeah, okay.
We've had
That's good.
more
Oh, it
training
is,
than
it is.
I'm glad you brought that up.
It's sad, but it's good that they're.
That's
very
true.
sad.
Well, I remember
I'm
seeing
sitting
that
there
they did like
thinking-
an
They did.
It sounds like-
active
comfortable.
shoot, I mean, I hate to think about it, but if you're not prepared.
Almost.
We're getting there.
Okay.
Are we need Darren, or?
So a couple minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Use that money towards the old schoolhouse process. On Open Aki Road?
5 minutes or so?
Yeah,
What
So I
happened?
just want to make sure I record some of what we're doing.
Yeah,
Just
that
get
was
your
fine. Yeah,
top thoughts on
absolutely.
there and
So I think number one are the fields.
I got that up there.
It's up there.
you wouldn't mind me interjecting a quick, my department last year, and the administrators can clue me in as to what has happened in the meantime. Last year, my department gave $5,000 or so for school lunches, because we had about, I was understood about 40 to 50 children are not having enough to eat to bring in to the school. And my primary responsibility is taking care of people like that. So what I wanted to know was, and I know Mr. Forte was looking at alternate means of funding to provide lunches to underprivileged children, so what has happened since then? And I would definitely identify that as a challenge, that if you have children who do not have enough to eat, they're not going to learn. So I do not know what has happened since then. I welcome to know what has transpired.
Boards that we flipped the switch. So we went from these standards one day to these the next year. So what we really need to see is this in a couple of years and see how our students move along. And that's the idea of implementing it as well. We're not trying to advocate for them, but those statistics will be very different in 5 years.
And very, very fraction heavy, where our kids, to be able to solve word problems with fractions and manipulate fractions to the degree that they needed, we realized we had to start a little bit younger and a little bit more rigorous. Fractions are but the students still love math. So that's the
what you want. That's the key.
You gotta keep that.
Into like something quick that's, you know, like a.
And like a parenthesis maintaining, right? Yeah.
I'm looking at the second point about the more classroom space, decreased class size. Is there any discussion about building?
I think that's probably always a discussion, but what,
And over
you know,
here
I
too,
mean,
maybe
that's
for
where you really run into financial constraints. Because like you saw, there's this big pie chart, salary, benefits, and then this much
We
money.
would probably need some level of a referendum, I would think. Is that right, sir? A referendum for, I'm sorry, I was building, if you needed more classroom space, it's like an addition to a house.
We are looking right now on, and Steve had it up on the.
Make it to the stop, but
It's the amount of buses they have, how to run the amount of town,
You need more of those traffic cameras on the buses. because
You like the-
I've witnessed it.
Yeah, I live on Diamond Spring, so.
Parks
yeah.
Road, well,
Yeah.
the stop changed. You used to fly down Parks Road and go through with the bus stop, but I know it's happened a lot this year too. on that road.
And they've been having a lot of trouble on Route 53 and also on Route 40.
Oh, she's gonna.
Good job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Staff morale.
Nice to hear.
Positive staff morale. Sure.
At least in our little neck of the river.
Positive transportation staff morale.
We were so sad.
Yeah,
when our
you're right, you were
bus
getting hurt
driver
too.
retired a couple of years ago. The last day of school.
Yeah.
as well.
When my daughter, who is a teacher at Lakeview now, when she was going to Valleyview, I believe it was Valleyview, all of a sudden one day the teacher wasn't, the school bus driver wasn't there. And then day after day after day after day, the bus driver wasn't there, and nobody told the kids, and they deserve to know that the person passed away. You know, why should they not be told that in an appropriate way? It's like if their teacher wasn't there, they're not going to tell them.
Emotional well-being, and then if there is a problem, have an infrastructure, some sort of program to then solve it.
Yeah, that's something safe.
Whether it's the mindfulness of, a lunch and learn,
Yeah.
school climate, school culture.
Yeah.
Inclusiveness is really important. I mean, the kids, every kid feel.
I think they do a really good job on that, but I think that there's cracks in the system, and I think that the counselors are 700 kids to 2 counselors. You know, mental health is not on the forefront of anyone's mind, and it needs to be, because I have never met anyone saying who's shut up a school with a gun.
And I don't know.
Who's doing.
Okay, we're going to ask everyone to take your seats, please, so that we can move forward with the next part of the process here. Just want to let you know from our perspective as facilitators that you guys were really good groups. Everyone got in right away, got started talking, and seemed to really get into the mode of what it is that you were asked to do. It's always those last couple minutes of needing to finish up, and you just got one more thing you need to write, right? That's always the most challenging part. So I hope you all enjoyed the experience of being able to sit together and talk and have conversations. And now we'd like to share the work that you did. And I think one of the things that we typically find is you see the commonalities that come out from the work of each one of the groups. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll just kind of go around the room here. So whoever is the speaker for the Pink Dot group, if that person wants to come up.
Okay, so we were the Pink Dot group, and some of the strengths and accomplishments that we identified were that we had very well-prepared students at a high school level. Particularly the art of writing was a huge help, but we had a number of parents whose students had moved on from the elementary schools and the middle school to the high school, and even from a student perspective, they were talking about how well their students are coming home and saying, how confident they feel in high school. From a parent perspective as well, issues in the district, when we bring them to the staff and administrators, get addressed very quickly. And to that extent, we have a very dedicated and committed staff throughout all of the schools, which is one of the accomplishments. The district works on technology advances, constantly looking at ways to improve technology, bring things into the school district, which we applauded. And to that extent as well, after the tragedy at Sandy Hook, we were impressed at how quickly the district, as well as the police department, worked together to make sure that we have incredibly safe schools for our children. The bus staff, we applauded them and all of the work that they're doing to transport our students, how committed and caring the bus drivers are, and that we have a very high percentage of residents who are bus drivers in the district. They talked about more periods of math, which kind of dovetailed to one of our challenges in the district. We talked about math scores and implementing the computer use for Park and some of that technology there. In terms of our challenges and opportunities for the Pink Dot group, one of the questions that was raised is, as we're implementing all of this technology for all of the students, we have, while we're primarily and largely a very affluent district, we do have families that have some socioeconomic challenges. And as we're putting these technology initiatives in place, are we making sure that everyone is getting a fair and equitable education? One of the things that we also raised is in the district, with school lunches and access to feeding and things like that, there is a population of families that do need assistance. A challenge and opportunity are we make the facilities work for what we need. We talked about this space, we talked about the trailers, and how can we make that work? We had some employees again in our group, and they were saying how frustrating it is from employees' perspective that they're wanting to provide the best education for students, and if a student needs more help, do they have the space? Can they take them off? Can they do the small group work? So how can we find a solution for that? One of the things, which was one of the slides that Steve had put up, was how we're lagging in the math scores, and why is that, and why are we doing so well in ELA, and how can we do better in math? And then is there opportunities to collaborate with either nonprofits or other groups in the community to address some of the other challenges? Did I miss anything, Pink Dots? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good job. Okay, now how about the speaker for the Yellow Dot group?
Here you go. Okay, and the Yellow Dot thought one of our biggest strengths and accomplishments is the fact that we have great teachers and administrators, especially that they're long-term. We don't have a lot of turnover, and that makes a big difference in following the students. We have basically good programs. Now, our pre-K was two-sided. It's a strength in the fact that the kids are identified and get the early help that they need and everything. But they would like to see more follow-up of the pre-K into other grades so that they have the same extra help that they need as they go along. Talking about a transitional first, they're thinking that a transitional kindergarten would be a good plan because the children are identified and screened and everything, so they could possibly have a transitional kindergarten as well. They feel the technology is very good. It's a good start. Things are good. Overall, professional development is good. Challenges, the COA, the low-income housing stuff coming down from the state. The numbers that they're giving us that we would have to build in Denville. I think one of the longer challenges is making sure we're planning for larger enrollments, more housing, bringing in kids, and so that's a challenge. Class sizes, they're too big at Lakeview. Class space, the buildings need improvements so that we don't have as many people working in substandard places. I did that one and that one already. Technology, again, it's a good start, but we want to continue the growth, getting Chromebooks down into the lower grades, especially since they have to take the PARCC tests on Chromebooks, that starting typing maybe in 2nd grade and working them so that when they start doing it in 3rd grade, they're prepared for it. Age-appropriate timed assessments. That is particularly right, it was talked about in kindergarten, where they're given timed math tests, and it's turning a lot of kids off of math because all of a sudden they know their facts, but they're being asked to perform under a huge time limit, and maybe introducing it a lot more slowly, just giving them a paper and they have to fill in the facts. Then when they realize that this child is ready for maybe a 3-minute time test, but right away to throw them into a 1-minute time test is causing a lot of stress. Training and feedback in new programs aligned with the curriculum. Teachers, when they have a new textbook, a new program, it's sometimes introduced at an early workshop, but then the training is way behind. So the teachers who don't know what this program's all about, it's very hard for them to implement these different things and keep it aligned with the curriculum. Okay, yellows?
Okay, thank you to the yellow dot for your work. Okay, will the spokesperson for the blue dot want to come up then?
All right. No, thank you. Okay, I wrote, so the deal was I was not supposed to have to talk. So I did both. Yes, thank you. Do I get a more? If you're a teacher, you have to have good handwriting. Okay, so we had a lot of the same things that the other groups had, so I'll try to move it along quickly. Strengths, a lot of people said that they really enjoyed or liked the fact that we had the honor classes at the middle school and that opportunity for the kids. They really like how that we use the technology at all the different levels, that kids can go on Google Classroom, they can go on their drives, that they can use it at home, just really being exposed to it a lot. They really enjoy all of the work on character development. They've really seen a lot of that throughout the year, last couple years. This was one that was kind of, and the board said as well, that this was kind of one of those split issues. The start time was brought up, that some people said that they didn't like the start time at Valleyview, thought it was too early, and other parents disagreed, and the board said that that was exactly the kind of problem they had, was that, you have kind of split there with that. A lot of parents said that they liked the strength of our writing program, especially if you compare us to other districts, the things that the kids are, the vocabulary they're using, the things that they already know, how they're able to structure their writing, all of those kind of things. I have a degree. The use of and then kind of going along with that, the use of proper academic language, that some of our students are really able to explain things in quite a good manner compared to other districts as well. Teachers' ability to identify their students' needs. We do have a very strong reputation we discussed, and that was kind of going along with the positive. One of our transportation drivers said that they have a very high staff morale. They really enjoy coming to work and that they really love seeing the kids every day. And kind of along the same lines, I know a lot of teachers who, including myself, who are quite proud to send their students, their own children, to our school as students. And then a lot of programs that have become available in the last couple of years, or a lot of things that students have done, have been sometimes a result of grants that were available to teachers, so they really liked that as well. Some of our challenges, again, some of the things you probably heard already, the inequity between the schools, especially with size. We just have more students, and sometimes that means more students in classrooms as compared to other classrooms. Sometimes there seems to be a discrepancy in, either school or teacher practices or like the way they implement the curriculum. We did agree that sometimes that has to happen, but there's sometimes that they would like a little bit more of everyone just kind of working together and being on the same page. That was the start time that we talked about. These next three are all or these couple, actually all four, I'm sorry, are things that I think are already being done, but just kind of continue to do it or maybe move forward and kind of progress with it. Just continue to integrate the technology in the classroom and also at home. Perhaps maybe expand world language, whether it's either starting earlier or offering different types of languages. Facilities, which I know came up before, just making sure we have enough space and proper space. And also to continue to offer those enrichment opportunities and maybe expand on them as well. Good?
You did a great job.
Okay, how about the Gold Star group, whoever that spokesperson is?
He's the writer.
All right.
He was the writer, but apparently I'm the reader.
Okay. Okay, microphone. Here we go. Sorry.
I'll write bigger next time.
Yeah. So, starting with strengths, we actually talked about a ton of things, but we talked about strong academic support sort of across the board for an intervention for students who may potentially be at risk or, starting to struggle at an early age, especially some of the younger, newer parents in the district. We were pretty impressed with that. We talked a lot about the support for the staff across the district, meaning that the staff feeling supported kind of transfers down to the kids being supported, and really the idea that the students come first and the staff is able to do that because they're supported by the administration. We talked about the fact that Denville is really quite I really think it's a very unique community in the fact that there's so much community service that goes on here. I feel like this town sort of runs itself based on volunteerism in a way, in a sense. And we definitely have benefited from that within the district and certainly can continue to do so. Actually, the Foundation of Denville is one thing that came up in that. We also talked about as families need to change. I'm not sure if this falls on one side or the other, but we talked about the changes in family structure. Is that supposed to be on the other side?
No, this was the position that took as the family changed that the district went ahead and considered whether or not both parents are working or there's any other household problems or situations that speak or lend themselves to special attention. They felt as though that was being supported in our group.
And also we have well-received and successful mentorship programs. So I guess Lakeview and Riverview have a mentorship program where the students come back and sort of mentor the younger ones, which is going very well. And let's see here. Parental satisfaction with the level of their child's education, the experience, and the results. We talked about a lot of parents who actually moved to Denville because of the quality of the education system, which is excellent. And I can't, what's that word?
The quality.
No, what's the?
Exceptional.
Yes, the quality of the staff is exceptional, but I can't remember what it says over that. We had a ton of strengths, actually. We didn't really get to necessarily write them all down, but so challenges that we talked about. Recognizing the same thing kind of goes on both sides, the change in the family unit, feeling like a lot of families are running around in the evenings and homework is starting to become an issue because there's a lot of pressure to sort of be well-rounded, and how many teams do we have to be on in order to be a starter versus, keeping yourself well-rounded and still making it in those advanced programs, and sort of trying to find that balance along with adding homework in there and the quality of homework and the purpose of homework. So, and understanding that parents are trying to balance all of that. So they may not be able to get those emails or come to the meetings and participate in some of those, organized events. Educational space came up a lot. There are a lot of different ideas that we mentioned. I think it was mentioned earlier about small group needs, even just testing for small group, special education students that require small group testing, or Additional space for activities is kind of limited, teachers being on carts. I know we're trying to get out of the trailers here. We definitely have at Valleyview, but there's still a space issue. Community awareness and concern of student safety. So the idea of the buses came up earlier. I know I wasn't aware of that. I definitely have seen some crazy things happen on my way to work, just witnessing with buses, but kind of trying to keep up with the trend and making sure that our students are safe on their way here. Evaluating the balance of cycles, and this is more of a middle school thing, and I think this is a negative and a positive. We have so many cycles here at the middle school that are a double period. And we offer anything from, music to, art, and computers, and now we have STEM, and it's amazing that we're able to offer those things, but as a result, the time and the length that the kids get to spend in those programs is shortened. So maybe there's a potential to look at that and allow for, I don't know for all grades, but maybe there's a way to get kids that are more interested in a certain art than another, to kind of develop that during the school day, to possibly eliminate that time after school where you're running around trying to get to an additional violin lesson or something like that. What else do we have here?
The security upgrades, these are just ongoing challenges. It was recognized that the district has so much in place, it's evolved so much over the last few years, and the challenge is to go ahead and continue that growth as was talked about within the other groups as well.
Balancing the whole child, we kind of brought that up as a strength and a weakness, that we really do try to make that a priority across the district, but it's becoming more difficult because of all of the demands. There's a lot of positives in these advanced programs, but with those advanced programs comes a lot of kind of this pressure to be at the top, and sometimes kids just may not be ready for that, and making sure that we have this. And at the elementary level, I think we talked about playtime and making sure that, yes, they need to learn their letters and reading, but they also need to have some time to just kind of learn to play. Extending the inclusion program for pre-K. I think we said it was 2.5 hours long, I believe, and that could potentially, so kindergarten is full day now, pre-K could potentially add some time for that. And communication has been a big issue. We communicate in a ton of different ways in this district. The example I gave, I used to do a parent, and I still have it, an email blast that we're able to do through our school website. So parents can sign up and you can send out a group email to any parent who registers. And I've noticed a significant decrease in the sign up of that. And the response that I've gotten is that there are just so many ways of communicating at this point that parents don't know necessarily which is, is there a way to maybe put it all in one place, I guess, is sort of the idea that came out of that. And I know that's really difficult to do. But.
Very nice work. Thank you.
No, you did a great job.
You very
good. Okay, back here, I don't know if you want to bring it up.
Leah, let's move it on now. Black dots.
All right, I'll try to go through this quickly. The Black Dot group for strengths, we spoke about that inclusion classrooms are adequately supported. So when children are of special needs and included in the general education population, they're adequately supported. That technology is great and it's supported at all levels in the district, from the board on down, administration and teachers. That the staff have adequate professional development and it's all good quality. It's not just money spent, but money spent well. That the entire community of Denville is supportive in education. That the homework is meaningful that teachers are giving. The standard-based report cards, and the faculty is strong. Some of the challenges, maybe foreign languages at a younger grade level since it starts in 4th grade, and maybe more consistent at the middle school based on scheduling, where it's 3 months Spanish, 3 months French, and then not until the next year does that occur. More class space, decreased class size, a common thing that is said. Keeping up with technology, low state aid, and unfunded mandates are all things that any district would have as a challenge. Those three can be grouped. Maybe some board member language there. Maybe better organization of after-school activities or scheduling. It was specific to the middle school, just as all that is offered makes scheduling more challenging. This specifically came up from the data that was shown for band, where the drop was from around 225 students to 60, and so that was what came up in that group. Parent education, as the strategies that students use, specifically maybe to solve math problems, changes from what their parents did, maybe providing parental education. And also meaningful homework, maintaining that. Homework not becoming worksheets again, but continuing to be maintained as meaningful. And that's the Black Dot group.
Very, very nice. All right, let's do orange, I guess. Orange dot is back on over here.
All right. Okay. All right, so the orange group, we identified a few strengths here. We have some of our group members were in the district previously with their children. Their children have since exited, but so they noticed that the Student Success Academy peer-placed tutoring are some improvements in the supports we're offering here compared to the past. And then another thing we said was a strength was that we have cooperative learning happening in the classrooms. The new teacher evaluation model and data are helping improve instruction and student growth. We also talked about the process that we're going through as we're trying to move away from the trailers, and so we said it was good that we weren't using the trailers anymore for regular classroom instruction, that we were moving in the direction of trying to have all the classroom instruction in the buildings. And then we talked about how Denville has offered parent academies, so that was another strength. For challenges, we talked about the field conditions are poor, so people were concerned for the sports, and that even though we do have these newer programs like the Student Success Academy, that we need to offer more programs or additional help for students that might just be struggling a little bit, that there might not be the right type of support for those students, such as those more in the middle. We need to educate students on interpersonal skills, even though we're advancing in technology and they're spending a lot of time on screens, that we need to still be mindful of their social skills and making sure we're still developing that in the schools. We were concerned about the lower math scores, just like the other groups. Would like to see an increase in interdisciplinary projects. Another challenge is that the increase in students qualifying for the free and reduced lunch, which was mentioned before, and similar to the previous group, the new math, that it can be a challenge for parents who were taught differently to try to help their children. And we also, of course, talked about the space issues. The ability to accommodate all our programs and needs was a challenge. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is James. I'll be representing the Red Dot. In interest of time, I'll make this quick because there is some overlap. But one of the biggest things that we saw was a great community involvement. The passion and the compassion that we saw within the group was truly amazing. We had some really deep discussions. Technology was mentioned, so both strength and opportunities, and how the teachers are invested. We are really impressed with the investments that the teachers have made outside their normal school time. The advanced course offerings we thought was a strength, but we also thought that there could be a better communication process with the advanced programs that led up to the high school. So what was missing, or what would be an opportunity, is a proper roadmap that is introduced at a younger grade level, so that there could be more better decisions made as to whether they take that advanced algebra class or geometry class. The security. The progressiveness of the security that has been instilled or implemented into the schools was quite impressive. But however, we did discuss that there were still a lot of challenges that not a lot of parents would think about until that event might happen. So we want to properly educate and communicate with parents that these things still can happen, and so there still might be some security pitfalls or gaps or loopholes that we still want to that we would want to close. And finally, I think one of the interesting things was the mental health discussion. How do we identify these signs earlier so guidance counselors might not be being used properly because of all the tasks and responsibilities that they have, along with the amount of students that they have to worry about. And also the discussion about tailored classrooms or tailored instructions. Is there an opportunity based on their personality or based on their education level or capacity, can we now create instructions or classrooms that might be more tailored toward those individual students so that they can have a more fulfilling and fruitful educational experience? And something that didn't make it up there, but I thought might be interesting, might be some financial sort of business classes for younger kids, fiscal responsibility, things like that. And that we all.
I'm also in the red group. Just one other thing, I heard it mentioned a bunch of times here that free and reduced lunch programs and different demographics. There's we saw a need for that, and so there's a nonprofit that we started called Give Technology, and we repurpose old laptops and turn them into Chromebooks, or like if you have a bunch of old laptops at home or whatever, there's a bunch of drop-off points. Just go to givetechnology.org. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and so we give them to kids who need them in the community who can't afford them. So, yeah, and you can donate anything you have, and we'll make sure that it gets out to people, and there's no paid staff or anything. It's all volunteer.
All right, definitely a strength. So we'll go to our last group, which is the Green Dots. Thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Amy. We are from the Green Dot group. Of course, like many others have said, our teachers and our staff is one of our greatest strengths. Professional development on a whole seems to be a thriving program that is taken advantage of by many of our wonderful professionals, except perhaps that there seems to be a little lacking in the tech department. Again, the community, our school system, seems to be run, we have a very strong volunteer program, and our PTA across the board seems to be very, very strong and active and involved. Security on a whole seems to be an issue that is constantly looked at and addressed. And in general, the facilities we have are very well maintained. What are some of our challenges? For example, I know someone had mentioned earlier that we go from having 200 students in the band program to 60, and some of the other arts programs that perhaps there needs to be maybe not only money, but a little bit more nurturing there in terms of the arts programs. In terms of technology, while we are moving to the one-on-one Chromebooks, is the technology, again, getting back to the professional development, is the technology being paired properly with the curriculum? And then in addition, with the new studies that are coming out in terms of cognition and learning, how is that impacting how we're using that technology? In addition, another challenge is updating and staying on top of our health curriculum across the board. Another element that corresponds with many of the other groups is the pairing in, I think, making more of an individual, making sure we're reaching all of our students, that while there are many programs, the Expo program seems to only cover maybe the top 5% of students. What are we doing to reach some of those students that are at those top 15% who show giftedness in different learning styles? How are we meeting really truly the needs of all of our students? Class size, particularly, again, that was mentioned with some of the new building programs that will be, and construction that's happening, both the physical space and the possible influx of new students. Are we ready for that? Additionally, horizontal and vertical curriculum integration. Are we working with our students going from both schools to the middle school to the high school? And then in addition, it seems that oftentimes there seems to be a little bit of a out of sync even between grade levels in the two different schools. And then finally, one of the things that our group looked at was diversity and curriculum cultural competency. And in terms of diversity, it's not only It is attraction and retention of faculty of color to support our students of color and all of our students in terms of cultural competency, getting them ready to live in a global world. Did I forget anything? Okay.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank everyone for all the work that you did. You can see the great conversations that the groups had just by the work that we saw here tonight. So just to kind of give you an idea of what happens now, we'll go ahead and type up all of this information and we'll have it to the district within the next couple days or so, and then all of the outcomes will be posted on the district's website. So this process is really set up so that if someone who's not here tonight wants to come to the next meeting, they're able to do that they can look on the website, see the work that you did, and then just be able to join right in on the next time. So, we hope that all of you that are here tonight will come back again, and hope that you'll please share with others who are not here, the experience and how important it is to have their voice. So hopefully you all are leaving here tonight with a pretty clear idea of where the district is now. So then when we come back the next time for the second meeting, we're going to work on that visioning. Where do we want to be 5 years from now? So we're just going to take you through a process of thinking about that, and we'll go through a similar process of, breaking into the small groups again. And then the final meeting then will be writing out those goal statements based on the work that we did in the first two meetings. So we really thank all of you for your time, for your input. I'm sure that the board and the administration will find it really valuable. So I know you should have a ribbon cutting, right, or something else that you want to do here. So
we would like everybody, I know it's getting late, but we'll take 5 or 10 minutes, do a ribbon cutting ceremony, and you can walk around and see our new media center. Then the board members have to come back in to close the meeting, and we'll try to have everybody out of here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you. You need another person to help you with that, or you and I? All right. You want to say anything first?
One small step.
It's a remarkable transformation.
Check it out.
There we go.
There we go. On the back wall, there's pictures of the before and after and during, and then just take a look around, check out our new library.
And there's favors on the countertop over there. Nice. Please take that.
Oh, the air's kicking in here. It's nice, right? You've already been in here, right?
Nice. Thanks for sticking.
It's a beauty here. I've never seen this place.
Oh my gosh. Space here? Yes. Space was library, this was all books, there's all bookshelves.
Where's the library?
Well, no, the library is
Is this so it's in the center?
Right, so really it's all fiction.
Standing back.
This is why we're here.
Where is it? We can read half of it. But we're all, how do you come in this 20? I come in this piles and piles and piles of articles.
Yeah. So anyway, that's over there where a lot of what it looked like.
Oh, okay.
And I know we put a lot of